Okay, so we're going to look at the healthy self now, the healthy part of ourselves. Okay, and we're trying to understand how the principle explores this by looking at how God manifests, how the principle explores how the internal workings of God. And because we're meant to be temples of God, therefore, if we can understand the internal workings of God, we can understand what we're meant to be channeling, what we're meant to be developing. So, of course, this is just how one say, we can't know God. We can only understand how God's blessings come down to earth through practical reality, through practical life. Some behaviors bring us closer to heaven, and some take us away. And so we can only guess God's nature. But the principle kind of explains the fundamentals, and we have to work it out from there. Yeah? So here am I trying to be a temple of God. Okay, so we're trying to look at this healthy self first. What is this healthy self, and what's it look like inside? Okay, so there's three different parts to the healthy self. They're inside. When I taught at university, I taught this at university, personal development courses. I taught this model for them, and I developed 18 different internal dimensions that you can control, therefore increasing your ability to manifest God's nature in your marriage. And you can manage all of those 13 different things internally. And you can manage them for better outcomes. It's your choice to manage them and grow them over the years. And that's hopefully what we do. So there's three different forms of these things. The first is like a grouping. So the first is the foundation stones of being. Okay, and the foundation stones of, you might say, God, that allows him to create the world that's stable and beautiful, is first my core values, the second, my sense of inner well-being, and thirdly, my level of self-empowerment, or my motivation drive, or my level of conscientiousness, this kind of area where I want to go out and do something and create something, and I'm going to do it well. So these are the three, in a marriage, these are so essential to the stability of a healthy marriage. So we can look at core values in marriage, and I'm going to look at the ones where you say, don't do these things, please. I advise you not to do these things because they can, like there are bombs in your marriage, and destroy your marriage. You know, don't dishonor your spouse in front of people, for example. Don't watch pornography. I advise you to not or to get involved in adultery. I advise you to speak truthfully to your wife as much as possible, or husband. I advise you to stay away from theft and crime, or I advise you to stay away from substance abuse and gambling. And I advise you to stay away from contempt. Contempt is when we can no longer see goodness in our partner, and basically we just see them as a worm. And some people can get to that point because they haven't worked on their sense of appreciation enough. They're not fighting to see the good in their partner enough, and it's become you know, they've lost any hope of loving this person anymore. So trying to battle to yourself, to not, when you see yourself going there, to say, I've got to get out of this because this isn't going to help me. And also honoring time for Sabbath, taking time together every week to renew the relationship, to keep it strong and romantic and happy and things like that. I advise you to do that. And I advise you to abstain from worshipping false idols and gods. So there's lots of ways to interpret that. You can talk about like political issues which are not centered upon God, and agreeing that, you know, we can do things which will violate the natural order of things, and if you take on those things because you're convinced, it can create a lot of tension in marriage, because if someone's believing in God's order and you don't, then it can lead to disunity, immense disunity. Next is my inner well-being. There's all kinds of dimensions. I just mentioned some of them. I'm okay. basically I'm okay. I'm a reasonable human being. I know I'm loved by God in some ways, and I know that my parents loved me, and I've worked that out, even though they weren't perfect. I understand, but still I know they loved me, and I am lovable and I'm loved. And that's really important, that stable foundation, to always come back to that, whatever happens. And then, of course, the belief that others are lovable too, that just like me. But if, some people find I'm not okay, but my other people are okay, and they dwell in that zone too much. Or I'm okay, but you're not okay, and they dwell in that okay too much. And it doesn't help in a marriage. Neither of them is good. So it needs to be worked on. Then we need self-compassion. Things go wrong all the time in life, and to be able to have compassion, not beat yourself up and be a perfectionist. And a lot of women especially find it hard not to be a perfectionist, and they beat themselves up when they don't achieve it because life is messy. And to be able to just say, it would have been nice to achieve that, but I didn't, and it's okay, I'm learning. And so kind of like learning self-compassion. Learning God's destiny for me this is God's destiny for me. I'm here to learn something. It's a difficult moment because learning happens usually when we're facing challenges, and I'm being forced to renew myself and die to my old self and be reborn so that I can manage this situation better, and being able to trust in God and have resilience, and also ability to share at appropriate moments your most vulnerable parts, and open up and share as a means to connect. So these kind of qualities we need to have worked on to build a good marriage. Yeah. And lastly, there's this level of self-empowerment or conscientiousness. This ability to motivate yourself in the morning to get up and say, I'm going to live life to the fullest. I have a providential duty to fulfill. God says that I am born to be his child. I have some gifts to offer the world. I want to bring joy to God and to humanity. I want to, how I live my life is just not me. It impacts on my friends and my family and my children, my wife. And if I, if I live it lazily, then it's not going to help, and it's going to drag everybody down around me. And how do I motivate myself? I have gifts, and I want to express that. So Jordan Peterson, for example, says, grow so that you can take on the heaviest burden you can carry, because that's what the world needs you to do. And we have the parable of the talents in the Bible, where 3 servants were given money, and the one that used the money to make the most profit, or to use it to generate the most positive energy, was the one God blessed. So how do I sense my destiny and my task? All these things are important in marriage because it gives you a positive approach to life. So these are the 3 foundational qualities, you might say, of God's being. Because so the principle says God has to live within certain principles. He can't live outside the principle, and therefore he has core values, and he can't work outside that. Otherwise, it'd be chaos if he constantly changed the principles by which. God has to have an I'm okay, you're okay mindset from the very start, even when we fell. He has to be able to see the potential in us, the goodness in us. He has to see that he didn't fail. He has to not get depressed. He has to be able to say, we can get out of this if we try. He has to have that. And when he created the universe, if he had a mental illness of any form, it would have been manifest in the creation, and it'd be chaos, and we wouldn't be able to build something. And of course, God has an immense level of self-empowerment. He wants to create the most beautiful world possible for us, and flowers and tastes. And he's invested and spent billions of years doing this. And so these are foundational parts of our being. And this is how I start my process of manifesting God into the world. So, of course, in marriage education, it can help in some of these areas. But it can't, if you've got a major I'm not okay issue, it can reveal that, and hopefully you can get the help you need. If you're lacking in motivation for life, it can help there in some ways, because a lot of that's to do with appreciation and appreciating life and triggering your own self-empowerment.